Here are 50 insanely creative ways that people are using Google Nano Banana Pro.
I am more than human.
Google Nano Banana Pro is the best image model we've ever seen, and it's going to have major implications from everything from product design to website design to branding, photography, film, and much, much more. In this video, I'm going to show you some of the innovative ways that people are already putting this tool to use. If you're new here, I'm AI Samson, and on this channel we explore the creative possibilities of AI. We're about to move through a full journey, starting with playful transformations and ending with practical, real-world business use cases. So first of all, here is me as a Pixar character. Now, all you have to do to achieve this effect is upload an image of yourself and then ask for Nano Banana Pro to make me into a quirky Pixar character that looks like me. Now, the difference with Nano Banana Pro is that we now get much higher realism, resolution, and quality, and that means we can push it to new levels of difficulty. One interesting approach is to see what you might look like in the opposite gender. So here's me as a woman. But we can also apply styles like turning ourselves into robots. But here's where things get really interesting and we start to unlock the capabilities of Nano Banana Pro. So I made these various versions of myself. I then uploaded these images and I asked Nano Banana Pro to place these 3 images on one 16:9 image, divided equally into 3 parts, and have a small arrow connecting pane 1 to pane 2 and pane 2 to pane 3. Now it's taken this fairly complex design process and completely done it for me. So this is automating a process of arranging and manipulating images perfectly as I've described. Now, I can even take this further for generating thumbnails and apply text effects. And so instantly, I've created this fantastic collage with text in just a minute. But let's take things a bit further and take a look at how we can leverage first and last frame video to make some awesome transformations like I did in the intro. Google's tool Flow is where you can use VO3 and Nano Banana Pro in one place. And by clicking on New Project, you can simply go to Frames to Video, insert 2 frames. For example, I can put myself in as the first frame and a robotic version of myself in as the last frame. Write in transform, go ahead, and immediately we can get out this awesome transformation. Now, next week, I'm going to do a deep dive into all of the AI video capabilities now unlocked of Nano Banana Pro, but for today, we're going to keep it focused on image workflows. So let's take this into more advanced territory. Once you've moved past character play, you can generate highly complex media styles. It's possible now to mock up images inside of other user interfaces and systems. This can add an extra layer of believability to our work. Here is Donald Trump inside of photo booth. But we can also generate stylistic types of gaming footage. Here is Trump on a plane. And of course, nothing will ever be believable again when we are able to create CCTV footage inside of the app. However, Google has announced that it has extremely watertight, invisible watermarking on all of its AI-generated images coming out of Google Nano Banana Pro. Now, beyond this, one of the powerful features is combining the reference image of multiple characters and putting them all into one shot together. And you'll get unlikely scenes, such as these individuals having a little party. We've got Elon Musk on a cigar, Mark Zuckerberg looking awkward as ever, and here they are hanging out in a car park, and again, Elon is with his cigar. Everyone's chilling, laying back, eating some pizza on the floor. But what is key here is the capabilities that are unlocked with multiple character consistency, being able to maintain the likeness of individuals across multiple different shots. Now, this degree of realism and consistency can also be carried across to objects, and that opens up a whole host of possibilities for rendering out high-quality product and marketing images. Take a look at this. This example from Brett showcases an exceptionally high quality, well rendered out image that would not look out of place on any Apple website. And you can see just the quality of composition and even the fine details here on the inner ear is absolutely remarkable. And you can see that it maintains perfect consistency with the nature of the product. Here is another example from Camille Sattar, and this one demonstrates how this can be carried across to creating advertisement and social media content for an individual product. Here you can see a series of what could be Instagram carousel images, And it maintains the perfect adherence to the product and also effortlessly designs an entire piece of graphic design to encapsulate the work. Now, some of the most interesting diagrams we've seen coming out are its ability to annotate accurately different parts of an image. So you can see here, not only does it have 0 spelling mistakes and accurate labels, it's also understanding how these relate to the device. This high fidelity of text rendering creates a whole host of opportunities in the educational space. For example, if you are looking to learn the different bones of the human skeletal system, you can get this diagram out and have each of the individual bones accurately labeled. Now you can see here that it perfectly understands the human skeleton. This is the remarkable thing about it, that it has this connection between what an image shows and what an image means. And it's this multimodal capability that's going to unlock vast implications across a whole host of different industries. And what's truly exciting is that we're just starting to scratch the surface about what's possible with this technology. There are these recursive capabilities that only start to emerge as we explore more broadly. And a couple of interesting ones that I saw include the ability of using text to define an image direction. For example, there is this extremely interesting post from Travis Davis where he inserted a prompt and an image of a script and immediately gave us a storyboard showcasing the exact description inside of the image. Now, this is extremely useful for quickly visualizing a series of shots for a narrative piece of film. And as you can see, the most important thing here is it maintains perfect character consistency, object consistency, and visual cohesion between each of the images. Looking at how far we can push this, how much text, how much detail, how much complexity can we add to these diagrams? This example is really testing the limits of Nano Banana Pro. And as you can see, this is an overly complicated flowchart for how to toast bread. And what is excellent about this is that there is 0 spelling errors. Beyond that, we maintain a wonderful consistency in the typographic elements. You'll see that this font is replicated all the way through the entire flowchart. And not only that, but it does make at least conceptual sense. And it has a sense of humor to it. I particularly like this. Is the toast acceptable? No. Apply shame. This is great. Yes, apply butter with a trowel. It's absolutely remarkable. Even these just slight humorous elements of applying butter with a trowel or applying jam with a silicone gun. Now, if you're a visual learner, this can be a fabulous way to generate highly useful pieces of information to understand complex concepts. So I wanted to see how far we could push this and to see if we can certainly understand much more complex and sensitive topics. So I asked it to explain the Middle East crisis inside of an infographic. And it's given us a fair amount of interesting context and information in a variety of different visual metaphors. We've got a timeline, we've got a map, and we've got some additional icons and factoids here on the right-hand side. So this ability to visualize complex information is extremely useful if you're looking to create any type of news-based content or simply are educating others on any type of conceptual abstract processes. Now, another area where this model has extreme capabilities is understanding maps. So this is another visual representation of information. And here is a wonderful example showcasing how you can turn a real-life map of San Francisco into an RPG map and add interesting elements and also annotations. Now, the possibilities for gaming design we're going to explore later because there are some extremely exciting ways that we can leverage this new tool for generating interesting concepts and game worlds. And we can start to blend these different media types, illustrative and logical, to create pieces of whimsical art that are not just aesthetic, but also informative. And here is a small illustrated map of London. And as you can see, we've got the major landmarks well implicated and also this light watercolor feel. Now, another incredibly creative use case inside of Nano Banana Pro is using satellite imagery to convert it into high quality maps. And this example from Bilawal Sidhu showcases exactly how you can take a satellite image and then render it out in different styles to get different map visualization. So here you have a vectorized styled map. Here you can see a Google style base map. Here you can simply add more resolution. And here you can see this watercolor style. Now, this is extremely useful for cartographers. Now, I'm currently here in Bali, and what you can do is simply take a screenshot of a map, come into Google Gemini, drop it in and say, keep this map the same, but illustrate the landscape on top of it in the style of a GTA map. And as you can see, we've got different elements mapped out here with the volcanoes and the lakes, and it is a great way to create our own customized illustrative maps. You can imagine making these for specific cities or for people's own unique worlds. Now this is particularly interesting because you can take an image and then ask for exactly where that location was. So you can input the image on the left here and ask for a screenshot on Google Maps of the exact coordinates of where this image was taken. Now, of course, we can also do that in reverse. You can input a screenshot of a location. We can come back into Gemini, drop that in and say, let's have a photo of what it looks like. Now, what's great is that you also can see exactly the thought process that Gemini is taking to run through this process. You can see I'm currently dissecting the prompt, focusing on how Show Me directs the image generation. I'm prioritizing the visual representation of the provided map area, specifically Mount Batur and Lake Batur and Bali. Now you can see here it's even referenced our earlier conversation. It's saying, I was considering doing a GTA map style, but I had to pivot back to photorealism. This is always interesting to see that it takes a lot of influence from the content that you've previously said in a chat. So it's often extremely important if you are starting to work on a new project to put that in an entirely new chat. That way it resets the context window and you're much more likely to get exactly what you've asked for. And here's how that came out. Pretty impressive. Now, this type of text capabilities allows us to create complex menus like this. And what's great is that you have excellent spelling, and Google Nano Banana Pro is also able to spell in multiple languages. So it's not just in English. You can actually take this menu, paste it into Gemini, and then say, translate to Spanish. And you can immediately translate all of your graphic designs in seconds into other languages. And what's particularly interesting about this is that it's able to do that whilst maintaining perfect design consistency. So that means that we keep the fonts, the colors, and the styles exactly the same. Now, a further food demonstration is the ability to generate entire recipes with accurate visuals for each step of the cooking process. Here, Robin showcases how he was able to get a recipe for chili con carne with these 4 images that accurately showcase the different stages of cooking chili con carne. Now, what's remarkable about this is that it's such a complex amount of information to put together in one piece. And to do that all with this context of having a very naturally beautiful handwritten style is absolutely remarkable. You can think about how well this could be used in extra props for filmmaking if you're looking to put together a set of recipes for specific dietary requirements. Now, another way that we can be using this model is to be bringing old images back to life. So here's an example from Poonam Soni, and she has taken an image of her mother's childhood and restored it accurately. And as you can see, it's colorized it, it's removed any of the discoloration or elements that are faded, and it's added a real sense of realism to this piece. But that's not all we can do, because we can start to recreate images and scenes that were never before captured. For example, we can take old paintings of different events and ask them to be rendered in photorealism. So I'm going to do this one for the Fire of London. But before I show you the results, let me tell you about today's sponsor. And that is Invideo AI. And they've got a fantastic offer right now, which allows you unlimited free access to Google Nano Banana Pro on their platform. Now, you can even go to Invideo and start trying it out for free. And if you do want to upgrade, you can start off at just $28 per month, and you get access to Nano Banana to with unlimited rates. Now, what's also great about Invideo is that you also have access to a whole host of other image and video models. You can generate all of your AI content in one handy subscription. All you have to do is come to Agents Models. You can then select Nano Banana Pro, start a new project, give it a name, and you're away to the races, creating directly with Nano Banana Pro inside Invideo. Now, you can add your reference images at the bottom. For example, I'm going to add myself in here and showcase to you another use case that is particularly useful, a use case that is useful. And I'm going to ask it to relight this shot so that it is at night. This was shot during the day, but I would like a little bit more of an evening musk to my photo. Now, this is one of the most fun and interesting ways that we can leverage Nano Banana Pro right now, and that's relighting photos in different and creative ways. And we can apply different lighting, for example, incandescent or neon or moonlit. And this allows us to completely restyle our images for different looks. Now, what we can then do is we can even apply some video effects to animate between these different visuals. So here you can see I've got me now at night, but we might want to relight this shot to be a vintage Polaroid. I can go ahead and generate that. Now inside of Invideo, you get the option to select from a whole host of different image models. It's not just Nano Banana Pro that we have access to. They also have Flux, Seedream, Imagine, Ideogram, and GPT Image 1. So here's me in a vintage Polaroid. Very fetching. Now you can simply switch to video in the drop-down menu at the bottom of the page and turn this into a video clip. Now, I like to use frames. This allows us to use this technique of switching between one start frame to one end frame. So I can relight this and generate this video. And here's how that came out. Now, Invideo allows you to access a whole host of different image, video, and audio models all in one place under one handy subscription. And at the moment, you get unlimited access to Nano Banana Pro for free on Invideo for the next 365 days if you go with either of the paid plans. However, if you're serious about video creation and want to access the other video models like Sora 2 and VO 3.1, then you can get the generative plan that starts at $100 per month. And this gives you more credits to make longer pieces of video. Check out Invideo in the link in the description below. And a big thanks to Invideo for sponsoring this segment of the video. And here is exactly how that turned out. Now, some of the most useful ways that we can use this is for entire branding workflows. Now, there is a demonstration on the Google website here about how you can take a rudimentary sketch of a logo, turn it into a higher fidelity output, and then have that rendered out across various different products. And I want to show you exactly how we can do that ourselves. So we can ask for a simple geometric logo for AICon. Now, I'm thinking of putting together a summit for AI-related technologies. So I want to see how quickly I can put together an entire branding package for this in one shot. So I'm pretty disappointed with the first output, not gonna lie, but that's where we have to engage our own brains here. My favorite generative AI model is certainly still Samson Brain 101. So I'll add a little bit more context here to bring it further towards a stylistic intent. So I've asked it to be black and white, make it in the style of a Dribble mockup, which is a social media platform for designers, and I've asked it to have it in the style of Paul Rand, who is a famous logo designer who worked on many wonderful logo projects. And that was getting better, so we can ask it, iterate again. So I might ask it to say, make the logo an abstract triangle that has multiple sides, like an optical illusion. Have AICon in ultra-condensed font. Now we're talking, I'm feeling this. So now we ask it to go and start to create some useful media for this. I was almost going to say propaganda, but it's not exactly propaganda. But that does give me an idea to try and create some real stylistic communist era propaganda in my own vein. So whilst that's loading, I will set it another task. Now we're starting to get our lovely confidence branding together. Now we'll say, make a tote bag mock-up. Now we can ask for a man wearing a black t-shirt with a logo, only have this in shot, make it in a casual cafe setting. And here we have this mock-up of the t-shirt. Now we can also ask for a whole variety of different elements. We might ask for an example Instagram page with posts for this conference, 9 by 16. So we can iteratively go through and create different media assets to visualize our branding concept. Now, this is a pretty complicated request because we're asking not only for it to design individual Instagram posts, but we're looking for it to put all of these together on an Instagram profile. So here is my propaganda image. Here's me with some wheat and cogs behind me and a book on mindfulness. I certainly look like a heroic visionary leader ready to launch into a cult-like status. But back to our serious AI con project. And you can see it's done an absolutely fabulous job here at combining all of these elements into a inspiring Instagram page. I would say my only slight disappointment here is it has repeated these two images, but I do like this bottom one a lot. So when you do see something like this, you can actually make use of Nano Pro's new ability to expand images out. So I might ask it to expand the bottom right image out to 16 by 9. Now we can use simple direct language like this to get nuanced and complex actions out from images. And this is the true power of harnessing Google Nano Pro and its real-world understanding. So here you can see we've pulled out this image and now we've got this whole scene showcasing this potential layout for a conference. Now we would ask it to make a web page landing design for said conference. Here we have an image of a website being mocked up, and I might ask it to mock this up further on a laptop. Now you can see here we've got this little bit of a technique where we are taking an image and then asking for that image to be put on a mock-up. And that reminds me of a rather interesting demonstration I saw on X earlier, which is the ability to create recursive images with Nano Pro, which means that you can make these looping, zooming effects using the ability to zoom in and then have that directly link back to the very first frame. So you can see here we've got this beautiful optical illusion of recursive images. But here is our MacBook Pro showcasing our website design. Now let's take a look at another couple of interesting and more quirky examples. This was a rather interesting example from Jan, and he can create a 3D model from a meme. So you can see here, you've got the meme and then it's generated a 3D layout that you can then explore and render out as 3D. This is great for taking images and turning them into 3D environments, which opens up a lot of possibilities for the gaming industry. And some of the specialized user interfaces from specific gaming genres can be accurately rendered out with Google Nano Pro. For example, here is a beautiful Pokemon style rendering, and you can see that it's replicated the fonts and the artwork absolutely perfectly. Now another fun one that I have is putting yourself into a Sims style game, and here is myself in The Sims, living it out with a very tight pair of shorts. Now, if you want to try out any of the prompts that I've used in this video, I put them all together for free in a link in the description below, so you can open those and test them out yourself. That's a little gift from me to you. And if you're not subscribed, I do invite you to subscribe. There's a little button down here, and also turn on notifications if you would like to be updated whenever I launch a new video. Now, as for creating slightly sensual content, obviously there are pretty stern barriers related to that on Nano Pro. However, you can get things that are slightly, shall we say, a little bit salacious. But this is about as far as you can get. This is the general depth of abilities we can get to explore the human anatomy. But pushing this in other directions, I wanted to showcase this experiment from Federico Lix-Klett. And this is really challenging the prompt adherence of the new Nano 2 model to Nano 1. And it's put together some of the most difficult prompts that AI images have had to handle since the start of the era of AI. And that is the following prompt. Create an image of an analog clock reading 1532, not digital and no other time. A burger with grilled golden provolone cheese and a glass of red wine filled to the brim. I have no idea if I pronounced provolone correctly. Please correct me in the comments. So here's the first image coming out of Nano, the first. And you can see we've got a burger missing the top of the bun, the wine glass is not filled to the top, and the time on the clock is wrong. Now here we have the clock. I would have to say actually the clock is showing 3:31, not 3:32, but it's still very accurate. Now the most interesting part is it has managed to put together a glass of wine that's filled almost to the very brim, which is unbelievably difficult. If you try to do this in any image generator, it refuses outright to get anything even closely resembling this. So this is a huge step forward. Now, the other element that I love about this is if we just notice the subtle reflection of the burger in the glass of wine, you can see that it's perfectly refracting the burger into the glass here. Absolutely stunning. Now, I've also put together a whole host of images that test Nano Banana 1 against Nano Banana 2 with the same prompts. And I'm also giving these to you, and I'm also giving you access to these if you would like to browse through them at your own leisure as well. So as you can see, we've got a whole selection of really challenging prompt situations for our two models. And I've labeled these. This is Nano Banana Original, and this is Nano Banana Updated. As you can see, the detail is vastly improved. Here we have a fashion editorial for Nano Banana 1 and also updating it. And again, you just see the great deal of incredible quality increasing. I mean, here we have a very rudimentary symmetrical composition. You can often see in some of the more basic AI image generators that they default to this rather languid symmetrical composition with very little interest in the composition. Whereas here, we get these wonderful leading lines that bring us up to this woman's face and a much more engaging composition. Now, I've also included a document here with all of the prompts that I use, so you can check through those yourself if you would like to run them, or just see exactly what the prompts were that I used in this situation. Now, the difference between Nano Banana 1 and Nano Banana 2 is just light and day. You can see just how well effectively Nano Banana 2 inputs all of these animals together and maintains the different sizing of each effectively. Whereas with Nano Banana 1, we've got this tiny little horse, this gigantic cat, and this floating chameleon. Whereas with Nano Banana 2, we've maintained a wonderful sense of cohesion. I mean, the horses are still small, but the chameleon is at least still attached to an object. It is not flying through the space. Nano Banana Pro is opening up a world of possibilities for a whole host of different industries. Whether you're looking to create complex shots with multiple characters or render out extremely specific user interface designs, Nano Banana Pro has us covered. Its levels of prompt adherence, realism, and its ability to understand extraordinarily complex text and concepts allows us to create a whole host of wonderful designs. Let me know what you're going to create in the comments and if there's any interesting use cases that I've missed. Now, if you enjoyed this video, then why not watch this one next, where I showcase to you some of the most interesting use cases for AI video. These are surprising applications of this brand new technology. But most of all, I want to say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here, and I wish you a delightful day.